Hello, the internet, and welcome to episode 4 of
the 80-bit Podsmash,
where gaming goes to grab a beer.
We're your hosts, Penguin and Termite. This is our, as you all know, I designate each episode as a different kind of boat.
Oh, you do? I forgot about this.
Yep, and this is going to be our yacht episode.
Ooh.
Because it's fancy, it's expansive, fancy. And you want to bring the family on a nice trip to this one, I think.
Invite the family.
Yeah, invite the family, friends, and everyone. Have a nice drink. We have a very special episode for you today. We are joined over the internet by Kristen Corradeno, also known as Up Kristen, YouTube sensation, cosplay extraordinaire. Why don't you say hi, Kristen?
Hi. What's going on, guys?
Welcome to our show. We're extremely excited to have you on here. I'm
pumped.
personally
so
semi-starstruck as I've prepared to interview you today by listening to half your videos on YouTube. So I'm very honored and excited to have you on our show.
Literally half.
I'm honored that you listened to half of them.
It was
There's
a lot.
like 700 on there.
I was at the gym, and I was like, I'm going to watch Up Kristen to prepare and get to know you a little bit. So I did through your videos.
Thank you so much. That means a lot.
Your Breath of the Wild wallpaper was awesome. That was the first thing I noticed.
That's still the wallpaper on my computer. I have a tapestry that's the Wind Waker Breath of the Wild. That is a Wind Waker Breath of the Wild. Excuse me, the Legend of Zelda Wind Waker.
Yes.
Like boat scene, and I'm a Zelda freak.
Yeah, you're in good company here.
Good company.
That's
yeah,
like our favorite stuff.
Not among strangers. But yeah, so I just in case our listeners want to know, I went to college with Up Kristen, and we were friends. We both like Doctor Who and other nerd stuff. Her YouTube channel is awesome. For those of you who have not seen it and want to check it out after this, you absolutely have to. It's great. She talks about just everything about nerd culture. She has a book review kind of thing, a book club.
I do. I have
video.
a book club thing going on now.
Yeah.
Yep.
And she does your sit down Sundays where you actually talk about like real stuff. That's
I'm all over the place a little bit, but it's fun. It's kind of like a giant nerd hub where we talk about real life, we talk about nerd life. We just geek out together. That's pretty much it.
She just does whatever she wants, and that's awesome.
Maddening Mondays.
Maddening Mondays, that's a long time.
I showed up for the Maddening Monday. I had a thing. I did a love.
It's true.
love
Maddening
letter,
Mondays
right?
has been going on. I started Maddening Mondays my freshman year of college. So we met, I believe, my sophomore year of college. I don't know if we knew each other my freshman year. Did we know each other freshman?
No, I transferred to JMU.
No, but you had transferred.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I think it wasn't until Macbeth that I really actually started coming around. So.
Absolutely. So, like, you were in the early years of Maddening Mondays. It's crazy to think that they are still happening.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good, nice consistency. That's important in content creation, from what I've heard. So, yeah,
that's what the YouTube gods say.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Cool. So, all right. So that's our banter portion that we like to open with. We'll move on. Go ahead and move on to DLC, downloadable content. Pew, pew, pew. I feel like we need like an intro music for this.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, we need to get some kind of like da 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 da.
Well,
that was a little close to Mario. I know.
Close.
No copyright infringement. Got to be careful.
Yes.
So,
when we grow up and hit the big boy stages of podcasting, we'll have some music.
Nintendo is specifically coming for you.
Oh, absolutely.
Uh-oh.
All right. So our downloadable content we do, as our familiar viewers are familiar with, we do just a little game, a little gimmick, just a bit, if you will, one of 80 bits. So this week I prepared special downloadable content because of our guest. So she will be taking part in our game. And I'll start by simply saying that you're going to be designing a video game for us. And then we're going to be rating it. So we're going to give it our Metacritic rating, if you will. So we're going to help you out. So we'll start by saying, think of a fictional character that, to your knowledge, doesn't currently have a video game or is not the primary featured character of that video game. So, for example, if Hermione had her own video game, her own Hermione's Mansion, if you will, like Luigi's Mansion, Hermione's.
Right.
So, it could be a side character as well. So go ahead and think of your character. We'll give you a couple seconds. Take your time.
Okay, I think I have one. To my knowledge, she does not have her own game.
Okay, great. Awesome. So, the next thing we're going to want you to think about is pick a genre. So if this character had this character had their own game, what kind of genre would it be? ARPG, FPS, whatever. It can be whatever you want it to be. It doesn't have to be the obvious choice.
Okay. I think Okay, I think I've got it.
Okay, cool.
All right.
And then finally, what platform is it on? It can be It can be cross-platform. It can be PC. It could be any of the current generation consoles. It could be as far back as the 8-bit generation consoles. It could be on Atari if you want.
Oh, that'd be sweet. Create a new NES game?
Yeah. So it could be whatever platform you want.
Okay.
Wait, do we rate her based on our own subjectivity? Like, I love retro
totally.
games.
All games.
So if she comes out with, like, Xbox
also,
One
like,
X
what
game...
if you don't know the character I'm talking about?
It's fine. You could give it, if we don't know, then you can give us the quick, like...
Okay, then I'll give you the quick
version.
notes. I got
All right,
you.
cool. Awesome.
I mean, I think you do, but I can't say that for sure.
That's fine. All right, cool. So you have it? You have your game?
I do.
Your character, your genre, and your platform?
Yes.
All right, hit us with it.
All right, so Willow from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah!
I don't know this character.
Oh, she's
that's
great.
so upsetting. So
Yeah,
Willow's a
you'd watch
badass. She is the, honestly, when it comes to Buffy the Vampire Slayer, she is the best character in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She's much more badass than Buffy even is. So she's a witch, pretty much. That's
She
her
starts
whole thing.
out. She starts out as like a really quiet, nerdy type who you're supposed to think of as like kind of lame. And she's played by Alison Hannigan. But yeah, she becomes a witch. But go on.
Mm-hmm. She becomes a witch later on, so she's really badass and mostly beloved by everyone in the Buffy fandom, almost more than Buffy herself.
The chick from American Pie?
Yes, the chick from American Pie, band camp girl.
All right.
Yes, she's amazing. So she's known really mainly from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That's where she's from. But she's obviously done a lot of things. Anyway, so gotcha. Willow Rosenberg from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I always get the acronyms mixed up. Ocarina of Time, what would that be?
Adventure RPG, probably.
Adventure RPG? That's what I thought. Okay. So, an adventure RPG.
Okay, with puzzle solving, I'm guessing?
Puzzle solving,
Perfect.
all of the things. The Scooby Gang would be there, but they'd be kind of like in the background. You know, they're like background players, obviously. They come in, they do their little things, they advise you, you move on.
So Xander's like Navi and comes in. Hey!
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Xander comes in, he's like, you still love me? She's like, no, bitch. Bye. No,
okay.
I've already slipped up.
Oh, no.
Anyway.
It's okay.
She's
Put
like,
a coin
Navi,
in the jar. It's cool.
bye. So they... that's the whole center of the game, but it's a PC game. So you can have other people, you can play online with other people who could come in and be members of your Scooby Gang.
Okay.
They could. There's a multiplayer option.
All right, so it's like, so it's kind of...
There's a multiplayer option.
Is it co-op or competitive? Are you competing against the other Scoobies, or are you...
No, you're fighting with.
Okay, you're fighting. So
you form a party with your friends. Oh, I'm thinking of like Knights of the Old Republic right now.
Yeah, I'm thinking a little bit like that. A little bit. What is the game? I cannot think of it right now. There's another game. It's that people can jump in, just help you along the way with missions. People jump in and help you with specific missions in the game, or you can go full storyline on your own and play on your own adventure RPG.
Okay.
And how's the combat going to be? Are we talking like press X to swing your sword, or are we like button combinations for combos, or are we talking action?
I think
options?
we're talking that there are specific moves. There are specific moves like cast this spell or cast this whatever, but it's one of those games where you can level up as you're going. So you collect stuff, you unlock new spells, unlock new moves that you can do. Because Willow's mostly at this point, she does have melee. She can, combat people to a degree. She can hold the stake. She can do all that sort of stuff. But it's one of those games that you really want to meet the right people to upgrade your stuff.
All right. Quick bonus points.
Uh-huh.
If you can give it a snazzy name, like a great name.
Once More with Willow.
Ooh, okay, all right.
Once More with Feeling, the episode.
All right. Yeah, no, it's one of my favorites, of course, because I'm a theater
Well, Once
nerd.
More with Willow, or hold on, I'm going to try
episode.
and think of one other one. Gosh. I'm trying to think of something that goes off of Dark Willow. If it comes to me later in the podcast, I'm just going to...
Blurt it out.
Yeah, just get it.
I'm just going to yell it out, and you're going to have no idea.
All right.
Awesome.
So Once More with Willow, what rating do you give it?
All right, so we have a multiplayer action RPG.
PC game.
PC game,
PC
exclusive.
only, apparently, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Your gear is provided by shopping or by collecting or both?
I would say both. You can kind of pick up stuff.
I don't know. Shopping, though, it seems to be like Willow's... like the magic shop and
that's true.
Shopping with Buffy.
Well, I think the magic shop would play more into leveling up your spells, like knowledge.
Okay,
like
yeah.
you could go in there and there's knowledge. So it'll play some sort of degree, and maybe she'd have to buy stuff to make spells. But as far as I guess there is a shopping element, but you could
she
also
caps
pick
a
stuff
demon
up.
and takes a staff from him. Yeah, that's cool too.
Yeah, and she needs something to make some sort of thing to revive. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Are we talking complexity-wise, like Skyrim or like Darksiders? I don't know if you played those two games.
I swear to you, that is the game that I was trying to think of before. Is Darksiders.
All
so
right.
it's like Darksiders. I love Darksiders.
Nice.
I'm playing it right now.
I had to introduce him to it. I love Darksiders, and I was like, "Have you ever played Darksiders?" And he said, "No, I haven't." And I said, "You have to." So
I don't have the console for Darksiders, so I always have to play at my boyfriend's. So I'm like slowly making my way back through the game.
Oh, nice. Yeah. All right. I think I'm ready to rate it. What about you?
85
out of 10.
No, out of
85
okay,
out of
right?
10.
Right, okay, yeah.
The best game 2017.
It's 8 times better than all the other games.
Beating Overwatch on every single platform.
Whoa. I was thinking around 8 as well. Yeah. I do tend to gravitate towards PC games. So yeah.
Nerd.
Yeah, but
PC
I would have
games,
thought that you would have knocked it for being PC only.
Drivers.
Yeah, for all of these reasons that you're saying right now. Yeah, I'll land on a solid 87. How about that?
Oh, you're gonna go a little higher, huh?
Yeah.
No, that's all right.
Yeah. So, all right, cool.
Woo!
80s. You're doing good. You're selling lots of copies of that game. So
There it is.
awesome.
I like it. I
Fantastic.
don't know if you pity sold me just now a little bit, but
No,
I
love
enjoyed
Buffy, so I'd play a game in the Buffy.
And I would, if the fact that you have not watched Buffy is very disappointing.
Yeah, for real.
You need to watch
I'm
it.
sorry.
Yeah, but I mean,
It's
he's
great.
all like,
I know what it is.
spellcasters, wizards. Yeah, you're cool with it. Sweet. Any video game designers listening to this, you can feel free to steal our ideas. We only want like an Easter egg credit, like
a trophy or an achievement named after us.
Oh yeah,
How cool would that be?
Oh yes.
Shut up,
Or-
Penguin and Termite. That's what you can call it. That's what you call the achievement.
Drop the mic.
And
We're
as
done.
for me, just make some sort of coffee shop, like named Shut Up Kristen or something. Like,
There you go.
make some sort of espresso shot that Willow has to take, and it's called the Shut Up Kristen.
The Shut Up Kristen. That's awesome. All right, cool. So that's DLC for the day.
Oh yeah, rap horns.
Yeah. All right, sweet. So now we can move on to our discussion. We're just going to be more or less interviewing Miss Shut Up Kristen here. Just kind of asking her some questions and figuring out what she does. So why don't you start us off?
Sure.
Termite.
So, in 200 words or less, describe who are you and why do we care?
So I'm a content creator that mainly cares about bringing geeks together. I really think that the best thing in this world is what connects us. And for me, that's a lot of nerdy things. Like, I wouldn't be who I am without Harry Potter. It's crazy to think to me how people have connected through me through Harry Potter as an adult. I could have never anticipated that. So I'm somebody that really cares about just getting to know other people that do what I do, like what I like, and I want to entertain people as much as possible. I think the internet is amazing in the way that we now can relate to each other and communicate with one another, obviously. And I think I've really found that space on YouTube with people talking with one another and meeting people that I wouldn't have otherwise met. So like I said earlier, to think of myself as somebody that's just kind of behind the wheels of a geek nerd hub, and is just trying to steer the ship with everybody, and geek out.
Cool. What kind of content do you create?
I create, I'm kind of all over the board. So I'm also a podcaster. That's one of the many things that I do. I have a podcast called XOXO, a Gossip Girl podcast, just connecting with Gossip Girl fans, the very niche thing. But I also create a lot of review videos, parody videos on YouTube predominantly. And I also talk about real things on my channel, and I try to actually address real issues that everybody's going on with. So I recently have really refocused myself into also making like a lot of sketch comedy videos. So that's kind of where my channel is going to be going in the future, because I love entertaining people. But
awesome.
That's my main gig, is just trying to make people laugh and talk about nerdy stuff.
We have something that's on the DL for Shut Up Kristen. Does your audience know you're going to do that in the future?
Yes, I just announced it, like, literally just a couple weeks ago. It came out of me just realizing I've been making YouTube videos for probably, I know, I'm sorry, it's an exclusive, it's here. I'm kidding. I've never
You heard it
made
first here.
Hits the delete button on my own video to make an exclusive. I've been making videos for like 7 years now, almost. And I really commit to doing it more about like 3 to 4 years ago is when I got serious about it. But I think that just recently has made me think about refocusing on like, what is it that I still love to make? And so I'm going to be trying to, because I'm also an actor. That's like one of the things that I'm going for in life. So one of the things that I really like about YouTube is that it's a creative outlet. It lets me take control of my own destiny, yada, yada, yada.
Awesome. You can't really be a Shut Up Kristen fan without being aware of your cosplay exploits, if you will.
Yeah.
Exploit? Is that the right word?
I don't know.
Adventures in cosplay.
Endeavor?
Yeah, adventures in cosplay. So we want to talk about that a little bit, and we'll start with what is your favorite cosplay that you've done. You could also talk about what is your favorite cosplay that you've seen ever, like that anyone's done.
Ooh, okay. That's a great question. I'm gonna have to think about that for a second. So I'll talk about the one that I'm most proud of so far is actually one that I just rolled out earlier this year, and it was an original concept cosplay. So what you'll see a lot in cosplaying is that people will mash things up, or they'll come up with their own like original like takes on a costume of a character or whatever. And I love Wizard of Oz. I know that's really not that geeky, but I love Wizard of Oz. And so it really upset me for a while that at conventions, the only time that you'd see Wizard of Oz cosplayers was, to be quite honest, is when you'd have like scantily clad, like Dorothy's, like Halloween store, almost Dorothy's. Mm-hmm. And that kind of made me upset because I was like, I love this character and she's actually like pretty great and bad bleep. Badass.
You can say badass.
But
you can say badass.
She's great. And so I one day came up with, truly came out of the blue with a concept for like a warrior Dorothy. So like an armored Dorothy. And so I made that cosplay at the beginning of this year and it was super well received. It was really cool. It was like the first cosplay I've ever designed entirely on my own. It was my first time making a costume that was almost no sewing at all. It was all armor work.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it was a really big stretch and I really loved it. And I'm actually going to keep on making a bunch of different like battle-torn things for her. Like I think the next thing I'm going to do is make a ripped-up Glinda crown and do all this other stuff.
That's so cool.
So it's been really, really fun. I really enjoyed and got such a kick out of doing that. It was such a fun experience. But as far, I'm trying to think... so one of the best cosplays out there for sure is that made me like just giggle to no end was they're a very well known now Reinhardt cosplayer from Overwatch that was at like New York Comic-Con and all these other things. He's made a bunch of other incredible cosplays, so that one is definitely one cosplay that's just like really incredible. I've seen like so many, to be totally honest. They all start to sort of blend together, but I think what really impresses me cosplay wise are these huge armor builds that you'll see some people do. Like it is insane what people can do and also what people will commit to. Anytime I see anybody in armor or in face paint at a convention, I'm like, you've made a commitment.
Nice.
Yeah.
You have made a commitment. Yeah. So I've seen a lot of really cool stuff. I'm trying to think of if there's another one that really stands out in my brain. I think it's amazing, kind of going back to Overwatch, I think it's really amazing now seeing how many amazing Overwatch cosplayers there are. Anytime I see somebody at a convention now and they have those giant Mercy wings, like I'm so impressed by that stuff, like because light work goes into that. It's interesting. I've seen cosplays before that I don't even know what the character is and I'm just like, I have no idea who you are, but you look absolutely incredible. And I think that's the amazing thing about cosplay. If you can make somebody be like, I don't know what's going on here, but it's cool, then you've won.
Nice. All right.
I have a question about cosplaying here.
Yeah.
What is your dream cosplay in the sense of something you want to do, but you're like limited by time or resources? Like, what is your dream?
Yeah, if you could just like, if someone were like, here's $1 million to put towards a cosplay, and
there are a couple. One of them would not require $1 million. But I'd really love to do Megara from Hercules, Meg from Hercules.
Okay. Yeah.
I just love her. But her wig is outrageous.
You'll say that hair though.
That wig is outrageous, and I get headaches from wigs to begin with, and that's like a 4-part wig. You look online, and like I'd have to commission that wig from somebody, and it would be like $300 just for the wig.
Wow.
Yeah. So I would love, she's like one of my favorite characters of all time. I also would really love to do a cosplay that like has really intense wings. So I've done a medley from Legend of Zelda Wind Waker cosplay before. And she has those giant wings. And I would love to A, learn, B, have the time, and C, have the money to make those wings and make them like really awesome and amazing. Farah from Overwatch is also on my list right now. I love Farah.
Awesome. Nice. I like how you slipped some video game ones in there for our target
Oh,
audience.
no,
That's
definitely.
perfect.
I mean, I'm a huge video game nerd. Literally all of my cosplay plans, my cos plans for the next couple of months are all Breath of the Wild characters.
Yes.
They're all Breath of the Wild
So you're going to nail
characters.
Mipha, right?
Yes.
All right, sweet.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's who I'm very, very happy. This is an exclusive. You ready?
Ooh. Exclusive!
I just figured out, like, the other day how I'm going to make her giant headpiece and the mermaid tail. And I'm going to make it pretty much, it's going to be a giant, like, silicone headpiece that's going to be like removable and other people will be able to put on and do all this other stuff with.
Oh, it's
so
perfect.
I'm gonna,
That's great.
I literally, right before we got on the podcast, I was watching a video on learning about how to like cast silicone and do all that sort of stuff. So I'm really excited. Yeah, I want to do her, Lady Riju, Zelda would be awesome.
Oh, yeah,
Zelda would be cool.
the because I was gonna say I'm a huge Obara fan.
Oh yes.
Oh no, I'm thinking of I'm thinking of a Game of Thrones character. What's the?
I know who you're talking about, though. I know who you're talking about. The actual
Gerudo lady.
Yeah, the actual Gerudo representative champion.
The champion, yeah.
I can't think of what her name is.
What's her name?
Yep.
I'm gonna if I think of it in the middle of the podcast, I'll blurt that out as well.
Yep.
I'm a fan of her, but I totally forgot about the mini version.
Yeah,
of her.
I want to make her especially for the Thunder.
The Thunder helmet.
Yeah, and that's just slightly too big.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I do.
Awesome.
If I could figure out how to make a Hetsu cosplay, I also would do that. To
Yeah.
just dance around.
Yeah. Yep.
And you'd have to
With
have
maracas.
Hetsu's.
The
You know
maracas,
about Hetsu's gift, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, yeah. So you'll have to have like Hetsu's gift. Just
you
give
have to.
people.
Yep.
Yeah. Just give a bunch of little Hetsu's
This
gifts
is Call of Duty. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, Call of Duty thing. That's awesome. Cool. So what about cosplay do you find compelling? What makes it something that you want to get into, or what made you want to get into it in the first place?
For me, I'm a hyper creative person, definitely, but I can't draw. I can't draw at all, which seriously bothers me to no end still. But I learned pretty quickly that I can, like, I'm really good at just creating things. Like, I'm really good at like Mod Podging stuff together. A couple years ago, I made 2 dresses out of book pages on a first try, on a whim, and like I'm good at compiling weird elements together. And so I got into sewing, and there's something about like sewing and crafting and doing all those things that like seriously I can do it for hours and feel like only 5 minutes has gone by. Like I can get so lost in it. And I love the feeling of like then going around and like wearing something entirely that like I've made and put such hard work into. And there's no better feeling, especially like Medley is a really good example of like I brought her to a con once and not as many people immediately recognized her. But when somebody did, and I've had this feeling before as a cosplayer as well, when somebody did recognize me, they were like, oh my God, you're Medley, you're amazing, let me get a picture. And I've totally had that moment with cosplayers before where I've been like, oh, I can't believe that's the most random character. I love you. Marry me. So I've gotten so many proposals, guys. I haven't. But there's something so great about that and like that feeling and being able to geek out with people in that way. And I think what I got into cosplay through a friend of mine was going to a convention and cosplaying. So I was like, oh, let me try that too. And then immediately when I got to this convention, it was a convention called Kineticon in Connecticut. I immediately just fell in love with the entire environment there. That's the big thing that I will say is that the cosplay community, and it's even as it's getting bigger, it really is still maintaining this. The cosplay community is like none other that I've ever like encountered. The amount of people that are supporting one another completely outnumber the amount of people that are competing with one another. It's such an accepting community. It's such a like wonderful, like, it's a community that recognizes that everybody starts at a different level and everybody's like really trying their best and just trying to like be a character that they're not. I think there's something so wonderful in that, like, we're all just people like in costumes pretending to be people we're not. And like, it's such a weird thing for adults to be doing, but it's so amazing. And I think that that's like really what keeps me doing it and keeps me coming back to conventions, are 100% the people there. Like, a couple of my best friends now are people that I met through Doctor Who fandoms and then went to conventions with, and now they're my best friends. Like, it's a crazy, wonderful community that really is so respectful to one another. And just tries to do their best to make sure that everybody's safe, everybody's happy, and everybody's having a good time.
Do you keep that thought of community in the back of your head? Because some of our other questions are going to be talking about community, and it'd be interesting to see how the two conversations about community contrast with one another. So we'll bring that up later. While still talking about cosplay, what do you think the value that cosplay, what do you think, does it have value to the world? Like, what is the nature of the value that cosplay brings to the world, and nerd culture in general? Do you think you kind of already answered it when talking about bringing people together, but I was wondering if you find that has any other value to give to, culture and community at large, and just the world at large?
I think it definitely does. I mean, because I think the cosplay community like really represents and really pushes like accepting everyone, being very genuinely kind to one another. Like I have said, connecting people, but overall also just like recognizing that everybody has something in common and we should therefore respect everybody. There is a really amazing, one of the biggest examples now is that at almost every convention now, you'll see people with signs that say cosplay is not consent, because everybody there is trying to keep everybody safe, and nobody that is actually there to cosplay or be a part of the community wants to see anybody get hurt, discriminated against, whatever. So I think this group of people are serving such a wonderful message to people that, one, you can do whatever you want to do and be whoever you want to be, pretty much to be yourself. If you want to dress up in a funny costume that you've made, do it. If you want to talk about gaming for 10 hours, do it. It really is such a promotion of self-love, of loving other people and respecting other people, and creativity. I mean, I know so many people that started off at cosplay at just totally base zero of being I don't know how to make anything, and now are people that have Etsy shops that are commissioning full time, that are doing all this stuff. And it really does promote there is a lot of skill that goes into cosplay, and it definitely can help you and overlap with people. And I think it just inspires people to be more creative, to do the things that maybe they wouldn't have done before if somebody else weren't doing them. Sometimes people need that push. Not everybody's as immediately comfortable with doing these things. And I think the fact that this is now exists especially in nerd culture, which used to be something obviously that is very different than it is now. People used to think of it as this weird whatever thing. With the more mainstream of this, cosplay having a TV show, having all this other stuff, it's really, I think, helping people promote to you can be who you want to be, and we're going to respect that.
Yeah. Awesome. Just kind of as a small mini question, sub question. This wasn't on the list of questions, but our first episode we talked about video games as a form of artistic expression. We had a discussion about can you call video games art, and we landed on a yes. Do you think that same statement would apply to cosplay? Do you think that is a valid form of artistic expression? If someone were to say cosplay is not art, what are the arguments, the quick 15-second arguments you throw out against that?
After you're done throwing something at their face.
Yeah, after I'm done throwing my foam sword at their face. That's my immediate question would be, well, can you make this? Can you do this? Do you really... cosplay is an artistry, because it involves sewing, it involves painting, it involves crafting, it involves creating something that was not there before. Therefore, it is something new, and it can fall under art. And it's entirely the expression of that one person. You know, there is no, which is wonderful. There is no one cosplay, even if you were trying to be the most, there are 5 people, let's say, in a room, all trying to be the best Harley Quinn of anybody in the room. Everyone is still going to have something different about them.
Yeah, kind of. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, everyone's still going to have something that is entirely different about them, that represents something in them that they wanted to show more, or that they valued more in this cosplay. And that means that it's a different artistic expression for each person, and that's the beautiful thing about it. And I would say that quite literally, cosplay falls under so many art techniques, if we want to get real technical about it. But nobody can go to a convention, see everybody in cosplay, and then say this is not an art.
The way you're talking about
so much that goes into it.
It makes me think a lot of dance, and how dance is a celebration of a celebration or appreciation of the aesthetic of the body and movement. And I get that kind of vibe from cosplay as well. It's like everybody's body sort of brings something different to the table in the way that it fits in the costume, or in the way that they choose to, use it as a form of expression alongside, the costume, as a form of expression in the way it fits onto their body. I think that's
absolutely
like a valid form of, expressing yourself by not being yourself. And that's,
quite literally. No, I couldn't agree anymore.
Cool. Awesome. Well, we're going to transition from talking about cosplay a little bit, and we're going to talk a little bit more about our topic of choice, which is video games. So, Danny, or Termite, would you like to take the
I also want to say, your view of cosplay is exactly the same as our view with video games in general. And the whole basis for our podcast is I can walk into, a Walmart and find Mario pajamas. That was not the case when I was a kid. Video games were nowhere. I was made fun of in school for playing Mario. The prevalence of video games and pop culture into our culture today is definitely growing, and you can see the same thing with podcasts, and they're almost analogous to each other. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways, video games, cosplay just for providing characters. In a sense, the cosplay and video games kind of go, really hand in hand. They're one might say that cosplay is sort of a child of video games. Just as a cultural family there. Why don't you ask the first question?
Sure. What are your favorite video games? When did you get into video games?
Yeah.
That kind of question.
So like I said earlier, I'm Zelda trash. So
yes.
I got into video games through my dad, actually. We had all of the early Nintendo systems. The earliest that I can remember me playing on is the 64. I remember playing on the Nintendo 64. And truly one of my most vivid childhood memories is playing Ocarina of Time. My dad had his own file. I had my own file. I was beating the game and almost done with the game, and my dad had just beaten it. And I was right near the last level. And I remember one day, I by accidentally pushed a stack of magazines over, and in the pile there was a playthrough guide of Ocarina of Time. And I, as a child, had been playing through Ocarina of Time. And we're talking about maybe 6-year-old Kristen. Was playing through Ocarina of Time with no help. No help at all. And my dad was using, and I literally yelled up. I was in an I Love Lucy phase. So I literally yelled up to my dad, "Dad, you've got some splaining to do." And it's one of my truly one of my most treasured and remembered childhood memories. She
suffered through the water temple all by her lonesome.
It was intense, and I remember it being difficult, but I remembered loving it so much. And we used to play Mario Kart together, my sister, my dad, and I. My mom is terrible at video games. She's one of those gamers that when we're playing Mario Kart, she's moving the controller to try.
The Wii was made for her.
The Wii, yeah, no, truly, the Wii was made for her. And so I have such great memories as a child of that, and so it's definitely my dad that's responsible for me getting into video games, and my sister and I for continuing to play them with one another. And so Zelda is one of my is for me definitely the top series. Ocarina, Wind Waker, And now probably Breath of the Wild are like 3 of my favorites. I love Majora's Mask and a bunch of others as well, but like there's just such specific memories for me with each of those games, I feel like.
You should listen to our when it comes out, you should listen to our episode about video games as art, because I make a case for video games as art by pointing out a specific example, which was Majora's Mask. As like, this is a lasting work of art that will, like, that I could see English classes in the future studying Majora's Mask as like a form of artistic expression. So definitely check that out when it launches.
I definitely will, because I love talking about that sort of stuff. Majora's Mask is 100% an art piece. It is an incredible game. Yeah. But there are so many. So the Zelda series I really like. Recently, I'm super into Overwatch. I love Darksiders. Darksiders for me is like it almost to me feels like an adult, darker Zelda, which I really like. It's almost
that's
like
what gravitated to me towards it too. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels so similar.
It even has a hook shot. Like there's one of the items you get is a hook shot.
I know. It's so great. It's such a good game. I also, it's funny because a lot of these you mentioned earlier, I've mostly throughout my life had just Nintendo consoles. So unfortunately there are a lot of games that like I'm only just getting to play now, like through friends again or through other things. So I really have been a little bit limited in some of my gameplay. But I love, like, Luigi's Mansion. I just replayed through. I just replayed through that a couple months ago for the first time in, like, years. And what a great game that is.
I haven't played it. I need to play it.
Oh. I just replayed it a couple months ago. And I was so alarmed by how much I still love it. And that it's genuinely a difficult game. It has some really challenging levels. Which I love. I love like Super Mario Sunshine. I love a lot of that stuff. I really gravitate towards. I think Nintendo is just kind of my company at this point. I just keep on giving them my money, even though they don't make as much as I'd like.
Awesome.
Nice.
All right. My other question for you is, what is your general assessment of video game culture as a woman and as a cosplayer?
Yeah, so this kind of harkens back to what I was saying of like...
about community?
Like kind of contrasting the cultures. How do you feel like video game culture is doing to, like address your concerns
with
as
girls
a woman?
And recognizing the girl gamers?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's kind of, it's weird because I feel in the cosplay community, I feel like it's really being worked on. I think the cosplay community is really proving to a lot of people that like girls love video games and that we love playing them. At the same time, I would say that in person, I think a lot of men understand that and are wonderful about it. But the online community of gamers is a very different story, which is unfortunate. You still have a lot of people that just want to, almost will watch girl gamers just to hope that they fail is a thing that I've noticed.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it really is a thing. Like I've noticed that, and I've noticed that in a lot of other communities as well. There's like a weird thing in the horror community. They want to see girls fail. There's a weird thing in the gaming community. They want to kind of see girls fail. The only negative thing that I really have noticed in the gaming community, in the gaming cosplay community with women, is that they tend to... Some people think that, and it's the same people that think that women just don't play video games. Some people think that women are just cosplaying video game characters to impress men, which is kind of unfortunate.
Yeah.
But I really do think on the overhaul that the gaming community is starting to really open up and is starting. I think Twitch actually has tremendously helped women in gaming. I think Twitch is really, really helping women in gaming.
Real quick, do you aware that so Macy's sister, Brianna, she streams on Twitch, and her gimmick, her thing, is that she does so in a hot dog costume, and she beatboxes. So she like beatboxes as a hot dog while playing Vainglory on her pad.
Please tell me she has millions of viewers, because I hope so.
So it doesn't have millions. I will plug her at some point. She'll hopefully we'll be able to interview her as well about streaming. But Yeah, she had a good following for a while. She's actually making like part-time jobs,
part-time job of it.
Yeah,
That's amazing. See, and it's people like that too. That like that's so great to hear, because like there are people, the people that are doing stuff like that on Twitch too are just helping to like prove that like even we can't believe like how ridiculous y'all are about girls. Like that's really the. But I think Twitch is really helping it a lot. I think the cosplay community is helping it a lot, because more and more people are seeing, like, why would this person spend, like, 30 hours working on this cosplay? Is it really just to attract men? Is that really it? Or to
Probably
wear something
not.
Scantily clad? Like, do you really think that that's it?
Such an egocentric mentality, too. Like,
And
clearly this is about me. This thing that you put hours of effort into is about me. That's absurd.
Well, one of my biggest examples is like when I used to work at a restaurant, a guy that I worked with who was super nice, like could not be a nicer dude. I used to tell him about like how I loved Zelda, loved Ocarina of Time. And he started doing this thing when I'd be at work, where he'd like quiz me on how you get through certain temples or certain like levels. And I was like, dude,
What
like
the crap?
I don't remember step for step. Like, could I figure it out? Yeah. But, like, I don't. And it's this weird thing of, like, women are made to prove that they love video games instead of everybody just being like, oh, like me saying I love Harry Potter and you being like, yeah, that makes sense. Me loving gaming. And it's like, suddenly that's like, oh, no, that doesn't make sense. This chick is just trying to get them men that love all the games. And I also think PC gaming is really helping, because any game like Overwatch where you can interact with people, like I think those are really normalizing women in video games, because when you're on, I have not experienced at all on Overwatch playing with complete strangers over voice chat and all these different things. I've never experienced anyone like treating me any differently because I'm a female mid-game or anything like that. And so I think that is also really helping. But there's still a ton of work to be done. There's a lot, which is unfortunate. And it stops, I will be completely honest in that it stops me from making a lot more gaming videos than I would like to. Because truthfully, it's just like, I don't want to be fighting people 24/7 about it. Like one day I'm going to start making gaming videos and I'm already like a little nervous about it, which I have a pretty tough skin. It's just a commitment of knowing that a bunch of people are rooting for your downfall.
Yeah.
Well, don't worry. You have Penguin and Termite rooting for your success.
Thank you.
And any of our listeners better be rooting for success, or we're gonna get you.
Gonna get 'em.
But,
whatever that looks like.
But harkening back to something you're saying, just gives, it's a good segue into our next question. You already answered about how gamers are stereotyped as being hostile and prejudiced, and you did talk about that. You actually have experienced that yourself. What can the culture, or even the industry, the culture of the industry together, what can we do to move towards being more accepting of women in the medium?
Honestly, just treating us like anybody else. Like, honestly, treating everybody like they are the same. I mean, obviously, that seems like the most point blank answer. But it really makes such a difference of, again, the difference of me saying I love this thing and you just being like, oh, that's cool, that's great, instead of quizzing me about it for an hour, instead of being like, who's your favorite character? Like, another thing that happened to me recently at a convention was I was standing by all this Overwatch art, and I forget which character I pointed to. I was like, oh, no, I love Pharah. I tend to main Pharah at the moment. And so I pointed at Farrah and I was like, oh, I love Farrah. And this guy pointed and he was like, no, Farrah sucks. And he goes, what do you know about Farrah? And I was like, Farrah's great. I was like, she's gonna justice rain from all above. Like, that's it. She's going, justice is going to rain from above or from the side. Either is a great strat. And he was like, and a moment later he did back down, which was nice, because I was like, well, who do you play? And he's like, Reinhardt. And he was like, that's why I don't like Farrah. She kills me all the time. And,
there it is.
And exactly. But like, there could have been such a better way to approach that conversation. And I felt like had a dude been standing next to this dude, the conversation would have gone a different way. It's just a feeling, which is unfortunate. Like, it's hard to describe the feeling of what the difference feels like. but just treating everybody the same, watching female gamers the same way that you would male gamers. I'm not one. I think that there are a lot of, I know a big thing in the discussion of the community is that a lot of female characters are very scantily clad. I know that's one of the things that comes up a lot in these kind of like sexism in gaming conversations. For me, it really doesn't bother me that a lot of female characters are a bit sexualized. So are a lot of male characters. I think having a better balance would be great. I think we are starting to see that. But I definitely, I understand where people are coming from. It's just, for me, it's not a huge battle. But overall, making the games, I think it also goes to the game creators. Trying to create games that are not aimed at men will influence those games and the way that they're played and having them played universally. Because
right,
I think, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think that also just the, I would say if I were to answer the question as well, I would also say that, going back to one of the things you said earlier, like, don't just assume, like, don't have assumptions.
Yep.
Don't come into, like, because I wouldn't assume if some guy came up to me and we started talking video games, I wouldn't assume that he had any ulterior motive of any kind. I would, like, attention or anything like that. I would just be like, this dude likes games. But it just seems like a lot of these guys come to these conversations with an assumption that, oh, she's clearly got an ulterior motive. Like, she's trying to get attention, she's trying to get people to recognize her, she's trying to attract, or sexualize herself. Like, no, it's just people can like what they like, and just don't come to these kinds of conversations with any kind of assumptions.
Exactly.
I read an amazing Kotaku article that was talking about, it was actually a really short editorial about we should move the conversation. Say he painted a picture of you're at a party and you're talking about video games with your dudes and a girl comes up. Instead of looking at her and asking her, do you play games? You kind of just say, what games do you play? Like, you don't even have that wall of, oh, you're a girl, you obviously don't play games. And you don't have to break that barrier. Just assume that she plays games too. She's coming into your conversation about it. Just be like, what do you play?
Exactly. The worst case scenario that's going to happen in that is she says, oh, I don't play games. And you're like, oh, okay. And you move forward. Right. That's an amazing, I love that. I would love to read that article because it is the not making assumptions is huge. It's just, that's the real barrier between us, is that people think to begin with that there would be a reason why women wouldn't want to play. That's just such a bizarre thing. And I also think it has to do now with, now everybody's got a computer, everybody's got a phone, so everybody has access to games. You don't have to spend $300 on a console anymore to play a game. Some of them you do. Some of them you definitely do. But but some of them you don't. And I think that accessibility with everybody, recognizing that everybody has access to these things, so therefore you should assume that everybody might be interested in these things, is a really smart way to go about it.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
There's just one other thing that I've also found online, and this really this pissed me off. But apparently, in the Overwatch community, there are people who are they'll create a group of people to play together on a team. I haven't played Overwatch since the beta, but how many people are on a team? There's 6. Is it 6 versus 6?
I
think it's 6. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it'd be 4 or 5 dudes, and then a girl would come in and she would start talking, and they would kick her out because they want to win. And they would just automatically assume that she was bad. So that led to females masking their voices or not talking so that they could still be in competitive Overwatch matches. That just burned me up. I was like, that is uncalled for, absolutely. So I'm really happy that you haven't experienced that in your Overwatch communities.
No,
because that's ridiculous.
I'm very thankful for as well, because it's something that I've really noticed in the Overwatch community, specifically, especially because it's one of my first really big online gaming situations, where I'm really talking to people that I just genuinely don't know, and it's been really very refreshing, and it's very cool to see that on teams that I've been a part of, after the fact, that no matter whether it was males or females that'll join, some of them will friend request me, and then we'll go and play games together, and it's nothing is different, and that's really amazing. But I think the biggest thing is just treating everybody the same, and I appreciate that you guys are even talking about this on a podcast. That even shows that progress is being made because it's being talked about in a civil, actual way.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, in more of a positive light, what movement? It could be cultural, it could be technological, it could be anything. What movement within gaming culture or within the gaming industry are you excited about? What gets you pumped about the future of gaming and gaming culture?
I just love. To be totally honest, I love the idea of people. I love it going to conventions where gaming is happening because it's just a bunch of groups of people playing games together. Mm-hmm. I think that's really amazing, and I think the fact that you can find that, whether it's tabletop games or video games or anything, like the fact that you can find those. I love going to conventions where you'll see a room that's blocked off because a Smash Bros tournament is going on. Like, that's incredible, and that I think also is really helping women because women will jump in there. Women are not afraid to go in those rooms and play those games against men or against other women. And so I think, like, honestly, as nerdy as a cosplayer, like, conventions are my thing. I love seeing that, and I love, again, seeing the streaming. I love watching streams. I watch streams on Twitch all the time. I think they're so fun. I think they help you as a gamer. They allow you to watch to learn about different games that maybe you didn't know about before, and to kind of preview them through other people. So I just love this kind of like streaming movements and conventions, convention hosting these tournaments and playing games all together. You'll see like a whole bunch of like 25 people just playing on their DSs in a corner together. And I'm like, nice. What are they even playing together? Or are they just sitting next to each other playing because it's cute to do? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I wanted to, speaking of streaming, this is a podcast exclusive too. I really want to do a stream at some point. I want to call it Penguin Man Saves Blank. And so Penguin Man saves the Borderlands and play Borderlands as Penguin Man in character, being like as if I, as Penguin Man, were in this world saving it and being like,
it sounds awesome.
I smite you, maniac, blah, blah. That's what I want.
That's a game I desperately have to play.
At some point. Mm-hmm. Yes, you do, for sure.
That's a game I desperately have to play.
Put it on your list. Yep.
It's ever growing, I swear.
Get it on Steam, and you can play with me.
There you go.
There it is. I love it.
Yes.
Awesome. Cool. Then I think we can go ahead and move on. We want to talk a little bit about your experience as a YouTuber as well.
Yeah.
As a YouTuber, what are your thoughts? Oh, actually, this is really funny because you just answered this question, so we can probably cut this. I was going to say, what are your thoughts towards the streaming movement? And have you? I love it. So we'll say this. You've already said you've considered streaming yourself. Mm-hmm. What does that look like? What do you plan on streaming? Do you plan on streaming one game, or do you plan on streaming like a multitude of games, whatever you feel like playing at the time? What's kind of your plans about that?
I have a bunch of different plans because I'd love to there are like two different things that I'd love to do. So one of them is making gameplay videos. So that's already like in the process. Here's another exclusive, guys.
All right. Exclusive.
Only my Patreon supporters, which is like my tipping and rewards website, whatever, know about this. So I had them vote a couple months ago on what my first gameplay game would be, and it's going to be Super Mario Sunshine, which is really, I like literally have it. Like I have my Wii on my desk, and I've just been playing the last couple days with like my capture card, trying to figure out how I'm going to set that up. So gameplay videos.
I didn't know it was for the Wii. Did they remaster it for the Wii?
Yeah, you can backwards compatible.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can backwards it. Yeah, so that's the, what's it called? Yeah, I wish if they had remastered it, that would have been amazing.
We're hoping they do it for the Switch. Just hoping.
Yep. Oh, I would die. It would be great. I would die. Bye. It falls over. But I love, so that's a thing that I definitely want to do, is doing those more gameplay videos, because I think that'll also play to my personality a little bit better, because I like the idea of like the things that I kind of say to myself when I'm playing, saying them just out loud instead, because I'm insane.
Yep.
Because I'm just a crazy person. So that's sort of one of the halves, and then the other half I would really like to start using like Twitch and streaming, like possibly Overwatch, possibly like some other PC games. I also play Hearthstone and a couple of other things. I love Blizzard. They've recently become like a fave of mine. They're doing pretty well, I think. Overwatch didn't win like 72 games of last year or something like that.
Gosh, yes.
I played WoW for just an embarrassingly amount of time, and every season I come back to playing Diablo, so I'm sure you've probably seen me playing Diablo.
I have a lot of friends that are all in for Diablo.
Leveling my necro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're great. They're doing well, but I definitely streaming would be a little bit more all over the place. Kind of just what I'm feeling sort of deal. That's something that I've like already started. Like I've made a Twitch account and all that sort of stuff, but I don't have as concrete of plan of. Also because I have limited hours in my day. I'm a pretty busy person, so I don't know exactly what that schedule would look like. But hopefully in the future, it would be just me streaming, possibly streaming with some of my friends, because I have a couple friends that do already stream. So possibly with a couple different people. That would definitely just be a more fun place. And I also might do, if I did streaming, cosplay streaming is now a huge thing. So I might do some cosplay workshop streaming. That is a big thing. It's a really big thing.
That's amazing.
That's awesome. We gotta check that out.
I spend a ton of time watching girls make armor on Twitch and just taking notes. It's like, that's awesome. It's a really awesome new thing that's kind of come out of the Twitch community.
Sweet. Kind of as a follow-up sub-question to that, what do you think that YouTubers, other YouTubers, you would sense you get about their feelings towards streaming? Do they feel threatened by it? Are they all about it? What do you think that the general YouTube community feels about the streaming movement?
I think they're trying to get on board. Definitely, because, YouTube's now working on their, like I do, to be fair, I actually do stream quite frequently on my YouTube channel, just not gaming yet. So I think that people are really starting to embrace it. They're recognizing that it has value. I think some YouTubers definitely do feel threatened by it, because there are some YouTubers, and this isn't a fault, but there are some YouTubers that like to be edited, that like to have a lot of control over what they're saying and what they're putting out there, which I by no means think that those people are any less than the people that can just say it off the cuff, because I think that that's just a different skill that some people have, and then some people prefer to, they might think of a joke and then say it a beat later, and maybe that doesn't feel as organic or whatever it may be. But I think the YouTube community is embracing streaming. I can say that YouTube is definitely trying to get in there as a platform. They're trying to get competitive with it soon, because they're really starting to work on their streaming encoders and getting the website to function better with it. And they have all these options now that are trying to compete against how Twitch streamers make money. Because they have an option now for, if you're streaming on YouTube, you can get you can have your fans donate money, and their comment will be highlighted, so their comment will be much more easily seen, or you can see top fans, how you sort of can on Twitch a little bit, if you set it up correctly.
That's awesome, because now people have to pay for it if they want to be rude.
Yes,
if they want to be jerks, they're gonna at least pay for it.
Yeah,
nice. Exactly. If you want to call me a fake gamer girl, you're gonna have to pay $5.
Awesome. Pay up.
Pay up.
Yeah, it's funny because we have Twitch is out there, and that's kind of the biggest deal right now. That's the king. But then Microsoft throws up their Mixer for their Xbox One, and then PlayStation dabbled with a thing called Ustream.
Yep.
And now YouTube has their gaming thing. And so it's coming around. There's a lot of different people competing, trying to get their claim to that space. You can tell it's lucrative.
Yeah, and I mean, I find the whole movement fascinating. I grew up, and if I was watching someone else play a video game, I was waiting for my turn or just extremely jealous. But the more I've researched it, it's actually very similar to podcasting in the sense that what people are trying to get out of it is a sense of intimate friendship, sense of I'm hanging out with my buddies. That's what the value that podcast bringing. That's what the value that podcast kind of brings to people, and it's the same that streamers, the people who watch streams, are looking for as well. As they want to feel like they're playing a game with their buddy,
and that's why people, cool. And that's why I think actually a lot of YouTubers are really comfortable with jumping on board with streaming, because they're people that are fans of YouTubers. The reason that YouTubers are a thing, and a thing that people have latched onto, is because they feel like they know these people. They feel like they actually have some sort of, they feel like when they're watching a YouTube video that it's their friend that's talking to them. So that integrates beautifully over to streaming for most people. So I think that really most YouTubers are embracing it, but it is so interesting to watch all the companies trying to get control of it. But Twitch definitely has the market at the moment.
Awesome. Sweet. What's your creative process look like when you're making videos? Or if you want to talk about cosplay too, what does your creative process look like with videos and stuff like that?
With videos, it varies. So like I said earlier, I'm right now working on some more sketch comedy content. So for the first time in a while, I'm kind of scripting things out a little bit more than I usually do. Usually they're a bit more off the cuff. So I grab ideas from my life, from what's going on at the moment, from just wherever the creative jumble comes from. When the creative gods decide to shine upon me. Which, believe me, there are some days where I'm like, I'll never create again. And then the next morning on my way to work, I come up with 3 video ideas. So
nice.
It's like literally that happened to me last week. So that's a big thing. So recently I've been scripting things out a lot. In the past, what I would do is I kind of write down an idea. If I have a couple bullet points of things that I know I want to mention in the video, I'll write those down. But otherwise, then it's off the cuff improv. And that's where a lot of the comedy will come into it. Then as far as that, like, I'm a one-woman show when it comes to the editing, the lighting, the filming. Anything from point A to point B is me.
Wow.
So
that's impressive.
Thank you. Thanks. It's a lot of work, but I like it.
Have you ever thought of at some point, maybe when you have more of an income or something, outsourcing that? Or do you think you're comfortable doing it for the long haul?
I go back and forth between it because, like, I have a love-hate relationship with editing. Because
we feel you.
I really, it's funny because right now I've been hired as like a freelance video editor for a company, and I've been doing stuff for them, and I found that editing actually really enjoyable. But I think it's something about, like, I've written the video, I filmed the video, I probably had to do a couple different takes of some of the lines of the video. I am done hearing myself speak. Like, I'm really done. So I think I would definitely consider getting an editor or something to help, somebody to help me with that. If it were somebody that I think grasped my style and my comedy and that sort of thing. I would love in the future, though, to get somebody that's like an animator or graphics designer who has more talent than I do to, like, come in and design some stuff for my videos. That would be amazing. There are a couple of YouTubers that I watch that have, like, those people on hand, and I think it just upgrades their videos so much and makes them, like, really just levels them up. So I love that. But otherwise, I do all the lighting. So I have, like, you guys can see it because we're Skyping. But I've got 2 big softbox lights and then a Canon 60D. Which isn't filming you guys. I swear, it's just pointed at my computer at the moment.
I kind of was hoping. I was like, maybe she'd, like, sneak us into a video somewhere and be like, look at these jokers.
I could be Instagramming all of this right now, guys.
Oh my God.
I'm live and you just don't even know it. Like,
all right.
I'm streaming right now as we're talking about streaming.
What are the comments? What are the comments?
Meta.
Let's go.
Whoa. Anyway, so there's, what's it called? I do the lighting. I do the video editing. Usually, if it's a typical video, it takes me no more than like half an hour to film. If it's something that requires a little bit more, like, cutaway scenes, like if I have to do a costume change or something or switch up the lighting all on my own, again, that's just me doing that. So that'll take longer. Maddening Mondays, as an example, which are usually around 5 to 6 minute videos, those take me about an hour to film and about an hour and a half to edit.
Jeez.
Because they involve a lot of titles. Those videos involve a lot of graphics, so a lot of titles on my end. And usually some, like, video effects, like slow-moing something down, and then inserting music takes a little while when you have to, like, there are certain moments where for dramatic effect I don't want music there, and I have to remember that later on when I'm editing it through. So
there was a video about burritos, I remember, and you, like, chipmunked yourself. Burritos. It was funny.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, there are a couple things over the years that in Maddening Mondays, certain segments I would, like, always speed up or I would always slow down. Some of them are, like, weird. Like, I used to have dance move of the day, and I'd integrate. They were most of the time video game inspired, actually. So I had, like, a Sonic the Hedgehog dance move. And I'd, like, put a little Sonic that was spinning in there, and it's maybe a 3-second clip in my video, but that video editing takes like 10 minutes just to make the hedgehog spin. And so there are a lot of different elements that go into that. I edit everything on Adobe Premiere Pro, and then I usually have a thumbnail image that I'll edit in Photoshop, which usually a thumbnail image can also take sometimes like 15 to 20 minutes if you can't. It sounds so stupid, but sometimes you're like, this isn't enticing enough. I don't know what to do with this. This doesn't look professional, or it doesn't look whatever, and it can take a little while. And then uploading it, there are certain things you got to do. Even you have to tag it or put a description in it, and it's a process. It's a process.
It sounds like a lot. Well, you've had success doing it. You have almost 10,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
Did you ever think that you'd ever get that successful?
Definitely not. I years ago, like when I started this YouTube channel, YouTube was not what it is now. Nobody could have anticipated that YouTube has become what it has. Quite a lot of people fell into YouTube, and in a lot of ways I also kind of fell into YouTube. I started off by very simply, I was taking a video editing class in high school, a video journalism class. And so I got into video editing and I thought it was cool, and so I'd make little things, and then I started uploading them to YouTube. And I was kind of early in, so that's when people were really like watching and getting to know people, and so I got a really nice little baseline of people that started watching me there. And as I've kind of found my way through the years of like really establishing like my channel as like a nerdy place, that has happened to coincide with the kind of outbreak of nerds, which is amazing. So everything has sort of gone well with me, like in that sort of way.
Awesome, sweet. Well, I think you answered that. She answered that sub question. Mm-hmm. So our final question is: what's the favorite collaboration that you've been a part of, or the coolest collaboration you've been a part of, aside from this one, of course?
I mean, this one tops it all. Obviously, this one is at the top.
Podsmash.
There have been a couple. There have been a couple of really. I've gotten to like collaborate with. There are people that I've gotten to collaborate with and become especially friends with, whom I never thought that I would be friends with on YouTube. Like people that have way more subscribers than I do. So I've done a collaboration with my friend James Brent Isaacs. He was a part of an Emmy Award-winning web series, the first Emmy Award-winning web series on YouTube, which is called Emma Approved.
Sounds familiar.
It's a really great. There's the Lizzie Bennet Diaries, Emma Approved, and there's a third one that I can't remember right now, and they're all based off of Jane Austen novels. So Pride and Prejudice, Emma, a bunch of different. They're really amazing web series, and I was a huge fan of them. They've won an Emmy, and I became friends with this person through conventions.
Yes.
And then got to collaborate with him. There's another YouTuber, Tessa Netting, who I'm now very close with, and she it would be amazing to collaborate with her, and it's been discussed, which is amazing. It's more the things the opportunities that have come up because of YouTube. Like I got a call out of nowhere to be in the final casting of King of the Nerds on TNT. That was a thing. I literally was like in the top 10 of people. They were taking 8 people and I was in the top 10. And like, wow, out of nowhere, genuinely got a phone call from them and they were like, "Can we push you to final casting?" And I was like, yes. And it was like first season of that. So I've done stuff like I've gotten to speak with people like that. There are a lot of really amazing opportunities that have come from YouTube, and I'm very, very grateful. I still get opportunities from YouTube all the time, which is like a really amazing thing that's come from the platform. And just meeting people, making new friends. I know it sounds so cheesy, but it really is the reason that I still make videos, is because the people I've gotten to nerd out with make me want to continue nerding out with them.
Yeah. Nice. Sweet. Real quick, one more question that's not on the list. I was wondering if you had any advice for us as budding content creators, anything, mistakes you might have learned from, or anything we're doing right, we're doing wrong.
You guys seem like you're being yourselves, and that's the number one. Like, already you're doing something that, like, it's very clear that the two of you are doing something that you genuinely enjoy, and that you're talking about topics that you know about and that you are, that you want to talk about. Because the biggest piece of advice that, like, when people ask me about starting a YouTube channel is, like, make things about what you like. Like, don't try to do what you think is going to be popular. Because there is no rhyme or reason or formula to any of this stuff, which is scary. But, like, the only piece of advice I can give you is that, like, I can count on my hand the people that are like really popular on these websites that are really disingenuous. The people that do the best are the people that are actually having a fun time doing what they're doing. And I think that's one of the amazing things too about the fact that the two of you are doing this as friends with one another. I think that's going to be really dynamic and wonderful, and will only bring you guys closer and bring people then closer to you, which is awesome.
Sweet. Great. Well, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, well, I think that's our show for the day.
That's all the questions we have. Do you have any questions for us?
What's your favorite color?
Red.
I'm leaning towards green these days. I know that's probably just because I'm like a Zelda geek.
I like it.
But
I like
I'm also, like, I always was a fan of like the Illidan tattoos and WoW.
Ooh, those are pretty cool.
Warcraft,
for like the Burning
and how they
Crusade,
become,
all
like,
of the
green and
marketing
stuff.
and like I loved all the art around the Burning Crusade and Warcraft 3.
Yeah, green's starting to get up there
That's
on colors.
Mine's
Which
yellow.
is good because I tend to, lean towards like blacks and grays and the
there it
clothing
is.
choices.
See, I came up with red because when I was little, I had this little art kit where you could trace like vehicles out, and I would color them all in and hang them on the fridge. And I walked by one of my drawings, and it was lacking. I hated it. I was like, "What is wrong with this thing?" And I noticed it was because it didn't have red in it. From then on, I was like, red's my favorite color.
There it is. I like it. Yellow's my favorite color. So
I'm gonna make up
Yellow.
a whole different
I know.
backstory.
I'm one of those people. I feel like when you tell people that yellow's your favorite color, they're like, "Oh, that says a lot."
Did you get the yellow Switch Joy-Cons?
They didn't have those when I bought mine. So I have I know.
yeah.
I might invest soon. I got the multicolor. So
Okay.
that's
Wow,
one day
sweet.
I will get the yellow. But
we couldn't. We ran out. They ran out of. Both of us had to get grays. Yeah.
This is the biggest side note, but only because you were just talking about tattoos and it goes with the gaming. The coolest tattoo I've ever seen on anybody is I met a girl. I went to a convention with a girl for business where she on her arm had the entire Hero of Time Hylian legend on her arm. Like just the scripture. And I looked at it and I said to her, I was like, is that like Hylian? And she was like, yes. And it's like one of those things that really brings you together with someone because you're like, if you know that, like, you know things.
Yeah, for sure.
Things.
Mm-hmm.
Coolest
awesome.
thing.
Well, cool. Well, everyone who's listening, make sure to check out Shut Up Kristen's YouTube channel. It's Shut Up Kristen. I think it's pretty straightforward and pretty obvious. Make sure that you check out her streaming content when it releases because I'm sure it's going to be great and we're super excited about it. And, just tune in for the next show. I guess we'll link off whenever we post this. We'll have links to her channel. If you
Kristen, where can we find you? Where can our audience find you?
Pretty much at Shut Up Kristen everywhere. The only thing to know is I'm a 10, not a tin, so I'm Kristen. But otherwise, Shut Up Kristen on Instagram. I post a lot of my cosplay stuff, so if you're interested in that stuff, that or Facebook is great. Again, I make YouTube videos all the time. You might like them, so like if you do, then subscribe.
And if you do, subscribe, follow her on Patreon.
Yeah.
Just help her make more content. Totally
Thank you.
do those things.
And if you don't like them, just like them. Hate like them. Just hit that like button, not the dislike button.
Love hating her. Just watch her and be like,
them.
oh my gosh, I love it when she releases videos so I can just hate on them.
Or pay $5 to call me a fake gamer girl.
There you go. That's right. Yep.
That's it. That's the one. Sweet. Well, check us out next week. We'll have another episode next week, and that will finish off our first 5. High five if you want to make a little subtle Ready Player One reference. And
I could talk about that for days.
I know. We're probably going to do a whole episode on it. We were just talking about it. So we might have to have you on for that one. So
80-bit Podsmash exclusive.
Yeah. 80-bit Podsmash.
If you do, I would happily come back if you'd have me. Because I
All
read
right.
this a couple months ago, and I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fantastic. I'm just listening through my second listen through of it. So, cool. Well, yeah, that's our show. So, I don't know. We don't have like a farewell. Penguin and Termite out. I don't like that either. We're workshopping it, so
we'll figure it out.
Penguin,
Termite.
There it is.
No copyright infringement.
No
That copyright,
no
falls
copyright,
under
no copyright.
fair use. Yeah, that falls under fair use. Well, thanks for joining us, Kristen.